Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network, where we currently have 29 live weekly broadcasts. Our show today is What's Trending, and we are going to be talking about aging in place. And for some of us, that's a scary topic or makes us angry. We don't want to deal with it. And for others, we're ready to jump in. So no judgment wherever you are. We're just happy to provide this education and information, starring our fabulous guest who's been here before. And her name is Tara Ballman, and she's the executive director of the National Aging in Place Council. Let's welcome her back. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me back. This is great.
Thank you so much. You know, we're talking about what's trending, and definitely what's trending is people are living longer and people want to have a better quality of life. They want to live longer and be healthy, but at the same time, they don't want to talk about it, right? They just want some magic wand to appear and make everything okay. But that's not what happens. And you and your organization really help people by providing information, fabulous events like you have going on this week. Tell us more.
Yes, well, thank you. So the National Aging in Place Council, we are a nonprofit trade association made up of members who are just dedicated to providing education to people out there and just making their lives a little bit easier as they age, whether you're 45-year-old, a 45-year-old like I am planning for aging in place. I have a young baby. I have two older adults that are in our lives. So, there are a lot of resources that are out there, and we just need to make them available to people, whether you're taking care of an older adult or a loved one, or if you're planning for your own aging in place plan. So one of the things that we really talk about, our organization, actually, I'll just talk about the book. If you're watching, you can see it over my shoulder, but it's Aging in Place Conversations, what industry experts have to say. And that's really 20 of our members have gotten together, and we took the top 20 questions that were asked the most. So we have a gerontologist, we have a home declutterer, we have a physical therapist, we have a home remodeler. So we really tried to cover all of the areas that you touch when you're thinking about aging in place. And then we put these top 20 questions into a book, and we answer them kind of question and answer style. And not only do we answer the question, but we also provide resources. So in the back of the book, there's a whole resource guide with QR codes. And if you've never used a QR code before, I know they popped up everywhere during COVID when we weren't allowed to touch anything. Everyone had QR codes that you pointed your phone at and you scanned. So that's something that we have incorporated into the book as well. So you can just, the section that I personally wrote was on transportation. So you can point your phone at the QR code and it takes you right to the section like the elder care locator, which is a great resource to help you find transportation. So I would encourage you to go out and find the book. You don't necessarily, it is for sale on Amazon, $14.99, but the purpose of the book isn't to make money for the organization. It's really just to provide education. So if you have any questions about anything in the book, I would really encourage you to reach out to us, because that is what our organization does. We help people plan and think about things they don't even know to think about. Our organization is built on what we consider the 5 pillars of aging, which is housing, healthcare, finance, transportation, and social interaction. So all of our members fall under that category, and we really help you address any kind of topic that's in one of those 5 categories.
That is brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that and providing all this information. You know, you touched on something when you first started speaking about your age and what's going on with your family. I'm 59. My mom and I live together now for over 2.5 years. People are in different scenarios as a result of the pandemic. And I think in some way, shape, or form, all of us are impacted with someone who's aging faster than we are, so to speak. But it's relevant for all of us. And to know that your organization and this book is available. You talked about housing and you talked about decluttering and downsizing and remodeling. And I know we just went through something like that here, which can be very traumatic for people when they're not in their home. And then they've, you know, before that, they've got to give up things that they've held on to for so long. Can you share some of the best practices and learnings that you and your organization have as a result of these specific areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. The last session that we had yesterday was on downsize to the right size, and it was really just talking about the stuff we have in our homes. You know, some people, the presenter yesterday said she worked with someone who had lived in a home for 60 years. That's a lot of stuff to accumulate. That's a lot of stuff to have an emotional attachment to. So people like her and home move managers can come in and help you. If you want to stay in your home, they can help you declutter and help you organize and find a way to get rid of the things that you've been holding on to. And I think we're all guilty of that. You know, one of the things she challenged us to do yesterday was go through our cupboard and throw out any cups or plates that have chips or cracks or anything like that. Just little things that start to add up over 60 years when suddenly you have a cabinet full of things you can't use, or a spare room full of clutter that no one can walk through because it's not safe. So I love that we are able to send people in and help with that. And even if you are moving, so we also had another gentleman participate yesterday who was here. I'm in Orange County. It's funny, he moved from Orange County to Noonan, Georgia, which is actually where my mom lives. It's such a small world. But he was talking about how hard it was. And he was in the senior industry and working with older adults and knew all the things that we know, but it was still really hard for him to separate emotionally from the things he had in his home. So he made it a fun event where his kids got to come over and they got to kind of say goodbye to the things that they didn't want anymore, and furniture that it was in their house that could never, you know, wasn't worth moving across the country because of the condition. And so they bought in a big dumpster, and the family had a good time throwing things away and having a celebration of goodbye instead of it being sad and being forced to move. And that's another thing that we like to highlight here at the National Aging in Place Council is just to start having conversations, especially when it's related to aging and what you're going to do when things progressively decline. Do you have a plan for, I'm going to go back to transportation because that's the part I wrote in the book. Do you have a plan for transportation? 76% of baby boomers feel that transportation and driving is their key to independence. But I guarantee that all of those people do not have a plan for what happens when I can't drive, because we are very good in this country about saying this isn't going to happen to me. We put on our blinders, we go, go, go. And then there's an accident, then there's some kind of crisis, and we're completely unprepared. And because we're unprepared, we don't have the same amount of resources out there to us. And if we had been planning for a situation for, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and there's so many other options out there that if we think about, oh, my grandmother was stuck in her home after she gave up the keys, or, oh, my grandmother had to downsize and move into this community and then she was miserable the rest of her life. But don't let other people's experience and other people's decisions or lack of planning dictate your future and what your future could be, because there are so many amazing, great options out there, regardless of your income level and where you are in the country.
Thank you so much. It's so interesting. And you bring up transportation. And also, I love what you mentioned about the blinders on. So, how do we actually go from, you're 45, I'm 59. How do we actually have an open mindset that just because something happened doesn't mean our life is over. It means our life is evolving, it's changing, and these are new opportunities and new experiences. But yet we want the control. When we have the vehicle, we're in control. How do we open up and change our perspective?
Well, that's a great question. I think that's something as a society that we have to do. But this week, like I said, it's Aging in Place Week. So I've been talking a lot about aging and aging in place. And I've kind of changed the definition of how I explain aging in place. I used to say it's, you know, creating a plan and finding out where you want to live and living there for as long as possible. But I love that you just said control, because it's really taking control of your future and dictating what you want. And as long as we start thinking, hey, I can control what I want for my future. It's about me. It's about me taking control of my life and my decisions. I think if we start thinking about it that way, instead of, I'm going to get old, I'm not going to have these options anymore, and just change our mindset a little bit, it will be easier for people to start having those conversations. And I promise you, a conversation about driving, like, hey, mom, I just noticed so and so, look at that car that ran a stop sign. I wonder if they didn't see it. I wonder if it was a vision issue. Just start having conversations like that, so that one day, if it's your mom that's running the stop sign, you can be like, hey, we need to have a conversation about this. We've been talking about this before. And it's not, give me the keys and you're stuck at home. It's, there are senior centers, the elder care locator through the area agency on aging. They can direct you to other transportations, other shuttles in the area through a senior center or a church organization. And there's even things like concierge services now. Some people are a little hesitant, regardless of your age, to use Uber or any of those ride sharing, but a company like GoGo Grandparent can step in, and for a fee monthly, they can vet the drivers and make sure the person coming to pick you up knows how to work with older adults. And they even have a full service option where they'll take you to the store. It's door through door service instead of door to door service. So I even found an organization, I marked it in the book. Let me see if I can find the name of it really quick. It's a volunteer organization called Community Transportation Association of America. And this is a nonprofit. It's in all 50 states. And if you're an older adult and you need a ride, you can call them and they will find a volunteer to take you around. If I am in Orange County here in California and I want to volunteer my time to drive older adults around, I can earn credits. And my mom in Atlanta, Georgia, can use those credits for rides around that area. And the person driving my mom around can earn credits for their mom in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So there are a lot of sharing programs that are popping up in transportation, even in housing. We're seeing a lot of co-housing agreements popping up. We're seeing older adults renting rooms to college students who are in areas where they can't afford the rent, or they're graduate students and they can't afford to go to school and live. And the exchange in rent isn't always monetary. It could be, we're going to work in the garden. I'm going to spend 4 hours a day with the person doing something, so there are a lot of other options out there. So when I say, regardless of your financial situation, obviously that makes a difference if you're low income, middle, or high income, but there are options within your income level that you can make situations work. We had a session on Monday called The Forgotten Middle, where we were talking about the middle class. There's a lot of options available to the lower income level and upper income level. That's who everyone seems to market to in this industry, but that forgotten middle there, a lot of times they're told to spend down that money, and then they become a ward of the state. They become, they go on Medicaid and their life changes. And a lot of the options that they had before do change. So in this forgotten middle, Amy Miller, who's also author of the book, talks about creating family caregiving plans. So if your family is taking care of you and they can't afford to quit, and you can afford to pay them, but you can't afford $40 or $50 an hour to pay a caregiving service, you can come up with this family agreement. And that seems to be working well for a lot of people as well. So lots of options out there for people.
I love that. That helps alleviate a lot of the stress, because the last thing you want is to be bickering back and forth with your family members when you're already, aging in place. You mentioned to me before we started the show that this is a special week and you've got a number of events, and I know you're going to share your screen and tell us more about that.
Yes, let me see
We
if I
love sharing
can.
the screen.
Share screen. You're putting me on the spot with the technical stuff this morning. So
You
this is the
got it
national.
together. Woo,
I
way to
did.
go.
This
Well
is the
done.
Thank you. The National Aging in Place Facebook page, facebook.com/ or / whatever slash that is, / National Aging in Place Council. This is our webpage, and most of the sessions that we're hosting today are being live broadcast today and tomorrow. It's the last 2 days of Aging in Place Week are being hosted here, but you can see there's the yesterday's presentation I was mentioning about downsize to the right size. We have a presentation here by a physical therapist who was talking about the ABC approach to better health. And I'll stop sharing because now I'm getting distracted watching my own videos. But she's talking about just little things that our members talk about, the ABCs of the mind body approach. It's alignment, balance, and centering, and just making sure as an older adult that your posture is correct and your alignment and your breathing. It makes a huge difference when it comes to falls and fall prevention and catching yourself and even being able to get back up. That's something that Vicki Gold, the physical therapist, was talking about yesterday. One of the ways to get over, a lot of people are afraid of falling, particularly if you've had a fall before. So one of the great ways to get over that fear is just to lay down on the ground and say, okay, let's pretend I fell. How am I going to get up? And you teach yourself the proper and safe ways to get up. And if it's not safe to get up, what are you going to do? How are you going to ask for help to get yourself back up and off the floor safely? And I'll say I'm married to a physical therapist, so that's what we do here in Orange County. And he even teaches people. He was a wrestler in college. He even teaches people, if you feel yourself falling, don't put your hand out. Don't risk breaking your wrist. He teaches people the proper way to fall. So it's interesting to see each professional's expertise come through in the information they're providing. But we started the week off with a panel for professionals called Marketing to Older Adults. And that was just really, as an industry, how we have to change how we're thinking and how we're marketing to older adult markets. I think you probably agree. You see a lot of fear-based marketing. I've fallen and I can't get up. Get this term life insurance and take care of your family after the fact. But fear isn't necessarily the best way to get people to start talking about these issues and get comfortable with them. So we're really trying to present it differently. Like, hey, like we said earlier, take control. You can control your future. If you want to have a fun, exciting traveling lifestyle, you can have that if you start planning now. But waiting until, say, you're 70 years old and you're retired and you're like, oh, I want to travel. Oh, but now I can't because of health reasons or transportation or whatever. So it's really interesting to hear. We had a panel discussion of 5 professionals who really had an interesting take on that. And then we also talked about connecting through music. We had someone who's very involved in music and has a passion for music therapy, and just how we can connect, particularly with those who are suffering from dementia diagnosis, how that's a fantastic way to still connect with our loved ones and family members. And that's a program that he did a special on connecting through music during Aging in Place Week, but this is also a regular discussion group that we have open to anyone who would like to come. You don't have to be a member of our organization to join any of our discussion groups. We also had a session about navigating bereavement. A woman who has a whole company in Atlanta, Georgia, just to help people. She lost her husband at a very young age, and now she helps people with after-death planning, just going through the process, but also pre-death death planning. For people like in their 40s, like me, I'll say I had a baby late in life. So there are a lot of things that when you have a baby, you just don't realize, like, oh, now I need a will. Now I need a trust. Now I need all these things that I've been preaching to everybody else to get and have in order. So Ronnie just kind of walks through those steps and makes sure that everybody has that in place. And we had a couple of sessions yesterday about home modifications and the top home modifications that make sense in your house. A lot of falls happen in bathrooms and stairs, but they also happen in little areas like little lips where you walk from inside the garage into your house. So Gina Knight, who's also the chair of our JACALYN chapter and very active in the home modification world, ran that session. And we also had fall prevention. So we really covered the whole, all 5 pillars I think are being covered during this week. We had 20 presentations. Even yesterday we had one called Putting Fun in Funding. So it was about other options that are out there. Like say, for instance, turning in a life insurance policy that you no longer need, that you're paying on or you can't afford to pay anymore. There are actually companies that will buy that remaining policy from you and pay you out, which is a way that a lot of seniors are paying for home care now, in home care with the rising costs related to COVID and gas and just the shortage of caregivers. Costs are shooting up. So we gave people some other options that maybe they weren't aware about. And we also talked about veterans aid and attendance. That's something that a lot of people are aware of, but they're not necessarily aware of the steps to go through to get 100% of the funds available to our veterans and the surviving spouses. So I love that we cover so many different topics with professionals from every area of the country. We're in all 50 states, so we have a little bit of flavor for everyone.
Oh my goodness, what a wealth of information. I don't even know where to start. I'm just thinking about what you said about your husband's direction when we fall, not to put our hand out. I think that's a big one. So many of us fall and get injured as we get older, and then it never heals the way it should have. It could have healed when we were younger, so to speak. So I think that's also great information. You mentioned about posture. I recently saw, whether a person's a fan of her or not, Jane Fonda was speaking to other people. Her posture's perfect. She's like 86 years old. I think that's a lot to do with yoga, which is also a good thing for us as we age, whether it's chair yoga or some other kind of yoga. So I'm just pulling back a little bit and taking apart some of the things that you're saying. So when we think about aging in place, we look at it now from a positive standpoint, because now we get the control by making the decisions with our loved ones and our family and friends. We get to say goodbye to things that have been weighing us down, instead of looking at it as, oh, I have all these cups and plates and things. Yes, it's great you have them, and let's donate them to somebody else. And if they're broken, let's get rid of them. And we really are liberating ourselves so that we can enjoy this next chapter of our life, correct?
Yes, correct. And along those lines, just something that came to mind as you're talking that we mentioned yesterday, a lot of people have collectibles. And that can be very cluttering in the house because you don't know what is valuable and what's not. And so we talked about that a little bit in the downsizing session yesterday. Like, okay, if you have baseball cards and full sets of baseball cards and they're worth something, that's something that you should save. But if you have things like, my great aunt Eleanor collected collectible plates, and she's got a plate with a bird on it from every state in the country, or every state and probably every country in the world. She's got so many plates, but it's like she kept them in the boxes with the paperwork because she thought they would be valuable to pass on. But it turns out those particular items aren't that valuable. And the fine china that she had that she never used, it's been sitting up in the corner in the cabinet. So just kind of going through those items and figuring out what's actually a collectible, what you can get rid of, and getting rid of it ahead of time, like the other family I mentioned earlier, where they have a celebration, a goodbye party to say goodbye. So it's not so hard to part with those things that are really just taking up space and kind of cluttering things up.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things come to mind from what you said. We had a guest on, and he and his team actually come to your home and they do an entire evaluation of your estate, what you have while you're alive, and then they can give you some kind of figure. Or I know for myself, for several years, I was running 60 auctions a week on eBay, and
Wow.
I was shocked at the things that people were buying. I'm like, what? That old necklace that's got like stains from moisturizer and is broken. So you can actually have some fun with it, like have some family members and maybe make it kind of like a family thing, putting things up for sale. And whatever you get from it, it's the fun of it. You could actually have like kind of like a family event. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. And there's actually a app out there that I used the last time I went to visit my mom. It's called Artifacts. Their website is artifacts.com. It's artifacts, but the A is missing in the facts. So it's a website and it lets you, or an app on your phone, and you can go through. Last time I was home, my mom has this beautiful china cabinet and it has things in there that I've seen for my whole life, for 45 years in there, that I'm not allowed to touch, that I'm not allowed to play with. I know they're important, but I don't know the story behind them. So I took this app and I went through and I took a picture of every single item. And we went through and we said, okay, can we find this? Is it custom made? Is it homemade? Is it valuable? Is it not valuable? Is it something we thought was from a dynasty that's not really worth anything at all, which we did have a vase that we were told a story that wasn't the true story. But I love that I was able to take my phone, capture we'll call it a vase, capture the vase, hear the story behind the vase. I could write the story, or there's a recording option where I can have my mom tell the story about why this is so important to the family, why she wasn't allowed to play with it was she was a child, and why I wasn't allowed to play with it when I was a child. So I love being able to pass that down. And one of the great things about that program or that app is that you can note on there. You can make labels. My brother's name is Shane. Shane wants the Regina phone. Tara wants the piano. Andrew wants the photo. So you can go ahead and kind of assign to people ahead of time who wants what, or even with these little codes, the QR codes in the book that we have, you can actually create those QR codes and put them on items on the bottom so that after you pass, people can go by and scan it and say, oh, this lamp goes to Tara. Oh, this lamp goes to Shane. So there's no fighting after the fact. And they even have an added feature in there where you can assign a value amount. So, a lot of parents want to be fair when they're divvying things up to their kids. So this is a way that you can keep track of values and make sure things are fair and that everyone feels heard and taken care of. And I even heard some of the people that use their app have been printing out the list of items and sending it into their insurance companies as a backup. Like, hey, here's a picture of all my stuff. Here's a description. Here's the value. So there's a lot of little uses for something that seems like it's just a fun connector to help you declutter your home. And I'll tell you what, I found tons of things in my mom's house, who has moved many times since I was a child. But I think I found like my kindergarten report card and pictures that she has been saving for 40 years that she couldn't throw out. And then she gave them to me. And I'm like, wow, my mom's been saving them for 40 years. Maybe I shouldn't throw them out either, even though they're mine and I know it's junk. So this app allowed us to scan all of that. She could say why she saved it. I could say my memories about it, and then we could put it in the trash and declutter and be free. So I would really encourage people, if you're in that situation or you just want to hear stories, I'm going to take this app every time I visit my mom in Atlanta, Georgia. Last time we went through the cabinet. Next time we're going through the pictures on the walls. I want to go through photo albums as well and find out who are all of those people that I don't know their names. She probably doesn't know half their names, but I want to record the information that we still know for future generations. So the app, I think it's only like $60 a year. And if you decide you don't want the app the next year, they download this whole library for you that you can take with you. So if that's your situation, I would encourage you to go check out that app.
Would you please spell the app for us again?
Oh, yes. Let me write it down as I'm ARTIFCTS.com.
All right, thank you. Wow, I love that. I've never heard of anything like that before. And you know what? You touched on this also. As we get older and people start talking about, I'm going to give Susie this and Bobby this, there are a lot of fights, there's a lot of anger. And then many times families stop even speaking to each other. I mean, while the loved one is still alive, and people are like, I'm going to have that. No, I'm going to have it. It's really sad. And the loved one, I think, should be able to make that decision. And with what you're talking about, there it is. They're alive. They're making the decision, in advance. I love the idea of sending it into the insurance company. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite features. And I just like that I have my mom's voice recorded forever telling
Yeah.
stories. Some of them I had never heard before in my life. And I've heard a lot of stories. So it was
Yeah.
nice to hear some new ones.
No, I totally agree with that. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, the anniversary of his birthday, and I thought, oh, I'd love to hear his voice and have his voice on an old Apple phone. That, of course, I don't remember the passcode because I never bothered to write it down. But what you're sharing is it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's special. And another thing that we've really been encouraging people to do is writing their legacy stories. I think when my father passed away 12 years ago almost now, and after he passed, my mom wrote down the story, how they met, um, things that she just, came to mind as she was mourning him. She wrote this all down in the book, pictures she found. And I should have it with me so I could show you, but it is the most amazing thing to have after the fact. And every now and again, I'll go back and look at it. It took me a long time to be able to read it initially because, everyone mourns differently. And I did it by not acknowledging it. But then when I was ready to face it and deal with it, I had all this information there and I can go back and look at it and the pictures. And so my mom made one for herself as well. And then she made one for my grandparents. So it's nice to have those stories. And it doesn't have to be a big book like the one that I have on Amazon. You can just put it on a Word document and go down to the UPS store if you want and have them bind it, or put it in a, three ring punch it and put it in a spiral notebook. It doesn't matter what the book looks like. It just matters that your family has those memories. And, you might remember something as you're writing that your family has never heard before, or they forgot, or didn't exactly know the details. So legacy stories are something that I would really encourage people to do, regardless of your age. That's something you could start writing in your 40s and finish, when you're 90. I guess that's kind of like a journal then, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I love the information you're sharing here. It's so exciting. And you talked about those 5 pillars, and socialization is one of them. And I think this is one that people get really caught up in because as we age, let's say if you have dementia or Alzheimer's, we don't have the same mental capability, or maybe we don't see as well, or we don't hear as well, or maybe we can't carry through a whole conversation and we become isolated. I know with my dad, that wasn't his case, but we used to call him Jack in the Box because he never liked to leave the house. And, there's some good things and some bad things about that. But how do we stay? I mean, we're social creatures. How do we keep that sociability as we start to age, knowing that we don't have all of our faculties like we used to?
Mm. Well, I think that's another important part of starting to plan ahead. Determine what's important to you right now. The woman Ronnie who spoke yesterday on navigating bereavement, to she's Jewish. Her synagogue got her through mourning her husband's death and getting more involved in that. And then when she wasn't able to go, how was she going to get there, and who was going to help her get there? And if she couldn't drive, or if the weather was bad that night, who was going to help get her to the services? So, I think just thinking about these things ahead of time. And when she did volunteer work, she got out of the house and found what was important to her. You were talking about somebody buying your jewelry. She came from a jewelry family and she loved old used jewelry. So she went to, I'm sure they have them where you are, they have them all over the place, an organization called the Assistance League. And that's volunteers who run thrift shops. And so she volunteered to spend her time at the thrift shop and volunteered in the jewelry jewelry section, specifically pins and watches, because that's what she loved to do before she was in this situation. So she loved it, and she has the whole social network of people that she didn't even know before her husband passed away, that just following what she enjoyed doing and replacing the time that she spent taking care of him with these new hobbies, instead of sitting at home and being sad about the current situation, finding out what was important and using that to pull herself up out of her sorrow, really helped her. And I think that's what a lot of people need to think about. If you're a traveler, I found an organization that will do virtual travels. If you're in a position where your health has declined and you can't travel anymore. My mother-in-law is German. She would love to go back to Germany one more time. I don't know if she can or not. We'll see if that happens. But if it doesn't happen, she can take virtual tours. And there's a company where you can go and just be a member in an audience and nobody knows you're there, all the way up to a full service virtual tour where, in her case, I'm going to do it for her next birthday. It's a person on the streets in Germany with their cell phone. Okay, Karen, here's my starting point. This is where you went to elementary school. What would you like me to look at now? Do you want me to go inside? Do you want me to ask if anyone still is here? Okay, now I'm going to drive, pedal down to your childhood home. Here's what it looks on the outside. Sure, I'll knock on the door and ask if the person will let me look inside. So you can really tailor it to exactly what you want. Or it could be something easy. I've never been to Disneyland before and I want to go, but I can't. So you can have a virtual tour of Disney. Or I saw a Swiss chocolate factory. Whatever floats your boat, I am sure you can find a virtual tour for it out there. So just finding what's important to you, and then making a plan. It all comes back to planning and being proactive. And if you know now what you want to do in 40 years and you focus on that, then you're going to have a better chance of doing that than just, say, sitting in a room in a facility by yourself in the dark with the curtains closed thinking, why me? So it's really, again, about taking control of your future.
Fantastic. I did go ahead and share the link for assistanceleague.org. Of course, I already downloaded the app, and I'm everything you're saying, I'm like, yep, I'm writing it down. I'm doing it. I want to share your website with our audience. So let me bring that up. Okay, so I'm over here on the website. Tell us what to look at.
Yes. So our website is ageandplace.org. We have several different channels. If you're an older adult or someone caring for an older adult, we have resources there for you. If you're a professional, we have separate resources for you as well. But one of the things I really want to encourage people, if you do want to go on our website, we have a document that you can download called the Act 3 Planning Guide. And it is a 24-page question and answer template that really walks you through the 5 pillars that we have. See there, start your plan. There's a cost of aging handbook that you can download there in the middle. So we help you start your plan, and it goes through questions of all 5 pillars. I don't suggest doing it all in one setting. A lot of families take 1 page every time they get together and go through it. So it talks about, where do you live now? Do you want to stay where you are? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What could be more convenient? And it walks you through that. If you need help filling it out, you can contact us and we'll connect you with a member that makes sense. We have local chapters as well, 15 chapters right now. We have 5 or 6 new ones that are in various forms of starting right now, but we do have members in all 50 states, but then we have local chapters as well that meet and do in-person activities at senior centers and libraries. And then if you're looking, the service providers, that's a search option. So if you are looking for something specific, you can go in there and search, but you can always reach out to me at NAIPC@ageandplace.org. If there's something you are looking for and you can't find it, we can help you out. And there I see under events events. If you click Aging in Place Week 2022, that'll take you to the calendar. We have 2 days left. Today, we're talking about senior living options, transportation, and mindset. Tomorrow, we're talking about Medicare enrollment tips. We're actually having a book reading, if you see there, Mayhem at Magnolia Manor. That's an older adult who wrote a novel about an accountant who is about to retire, witnesses a murder, and is put in witness protection, but they send her to a senior assisted living facility instead of the island she wanted to retire on. And the bad guys find her, and her other little friends help cover it up. And it's all about like pellet guns and butter pecan ice cream. And it's really cute. So she's going to go. That's at 11 o'clock tomorrow Pacific time, 2 o'clock
there we go.
Eastern
Yep,
time.
right there.
We're going to live broadcast that on our Facebook page. But if you want to ask the author questions, you can join in. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Fabulous. I love it. Okay, register here for any of the events.
Yes.
Okay, and then you can connect here as well.
We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We have a very large library on YouTube. If any of these topics interested you, I'm sure you'll find at least one recording about it on our YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Wow. Super excited with all the information that you shared. I want to bring up your banner again. I don't think we have your email. Tell me what it is, please.
Oh, it's NAIPC at ageinplace.org.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I got this correct. NAIPC at ageinplace.org.
That goes right to me. That's it.
Yes, fantastic. All right, as we come to the end of the show, you have given us so much fabulous information. What are 2 or 3 key takeaways you want to leave with our audience for today?
Oh, well, number 1, aging is not scary. It can be fun if you make it fun, and it can be scary if you make it scary. So it's not scary. And 2 is just start talking about it. Just start planning. I promise you the conversations will get easier the more that you have them. So be proactive and don't be scared. Those are my takeaways.
I love it. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Please do come back and see us on our other shows. And good luck with the rest of the events. Keep smiling because it's really infectious. You have a beautiful smile and I love your energy.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll be back.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks again. Bye for now. Thank you to each and every one of you, whether you're watching or listening on the live or the replay. We're so happy that you're here. We're all about education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Please do stick around for the rest of our shows today and tomorrow. As you may know, if you watch us on a regular basis, we broadcast live Monday through Friday. And you can go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio, to look at any of our shows from the past. They're all organized into playlists. This will be under the playlist, What's Trending. Thanks again. See you all soon. Bye, Tara.